Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about why you need rest for language learning as a Muslim. Now, I was just kind of trying to go full on and, do my language learning. And then, I got to a stage where I just kind of just gave up. And I think it just got too much for me and I was trying to do too much too soon. So today I'm going to talk about how I kind of incorporated more rest and it feels so much better now. Welcome. On this channel, I share my journey learning languages as a Muslim. And language learning is mainly mental. It's about focusing yourself, getting to right habits, doing the right things. It's not about having the best resources, the best teachers. You can not have the best resources and maybe just have minimal resources and things like that. But being able to kind of get into a good habit and, treat yourself kindly and be good to yourself and those things are super important to help you get that right mindset to learn the language. And it's not about the right resources, teachers, things like that. I honestly do believe the majority of it is down to having that right kind of mental preparation and setup. And I used to be really hard on myself when I missed a day, and then I'd be like, oh God, what's the point of doing it? And then the next day I wouldn't do it and things like that. And I've definitely learned a lot recently and just about, just being kinder to myself and better to myself. And on the internet, I used to see a lot of these polyglots on YouTube and they're doing 2, 3, 4 hours a day, learning a language in a month, 2 months and things like that. I thought, wow, awesome. If I'm not doing that, then, who am I? I need to make sure I'm hitting that sort of level. But the problem was that I was comparing myself to others and I need to not do that. Don't compare myself to others. Make sure I'm on my own trajectory and just doing what's comfortable for me. And that's going to be more sustainable in the long term. I remember once my son was ill and I took him to the hospital. Alhamdulillah, it was fine. We came back. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I missed the lesson. And then the next day I was kind of demotivated as well. And then the day after that. And it's so easy to just get caught up into this kind of just downward trend. And I think what I needed to do was really just be more, kinder to myself and say, look, these things happen and, it's okay. I'm doing my best. You just need to keep going on to it and just kind of be my own best friend. And I know this sounds really cheesy and cliche, but honestly, this helps so much because otherwise you kind of fear the criticism that you're going to give on yourself. And sometimes we are our worst sort of critics and we could be really harsh and we could feel shame and things like that. It's about building tolerance to that shame and being the best coach. I also remember I had a busy day at the office. There was a lot going on. I think I was going on holiday soon and things like that. And, even that sometimes, that can get in the way and I just kind of forgot to do my language learning. Or I had a really late night, the night before I went out or something like that. And it's important to do that, to socialize, meet others. It's really important. Obviously you need to do it to the right level that, you feel that's good for you. But I definitely feel having that social interaction is so important. And just because you're learning a language doesn't mean you just cut out everything and just hibernate and go into one thing. And one really big lesson I learned was just to do a little bit each day. And, definitely I try and do at least my Duolingo lesson a day. That definitely feels sort of more than manageable and just kind of keep doing things and just keep kind of ticking away. And that is more sustainable. And I just feel better about that. If I had a lot to do in one go, then that would be just overwhelming. Every day I'm just going to dread it. So I need to kind of work my way into it. And the more I do it, the more I kind of ingrain those kind of neurons and what have you in the brain and those connections. And it becomes easier to do. But also life will get in the way. There's no way it's going to be perfect every day. Kids, family, whatever it might be. Even if you're young yourself, there's things, exams, there's school stuff, or you fall ill and things like that. It's impossible to be perfect, and perfection does not exist. And that's a really important lesson to learn. I remember at the end of Ramadan, I was feeling really tired, trying to make the most of my ibadah and things like that. And I wanted to kind of, mainly focus on my Ramadan. And, I got to this mindset where oh my gosh, I still need to do my language learning and stuff like that. And I just kind of said, you know what, it's fine. Let me just focus on Ramadan, for a few more days. Then once I kind of accepted that, then it was a lot easier. Also, sleep is super important. And this is something I need to keep reminding myself all the time. I need to make sure I get right sleep. Sleep, increases your risk for so many major diseases just diabetes, heart disease, all of that sort of stuff, plus everything else. And it's important sleep just for your brain to just recuperate, regenerate. It does this mind sweeping kind of thing, cleans up all garbage and stuff in your brain and just clears it out and refreshes it and cleanses it. So it's important to get that sleep, and that will kind of aid with language learning and help things kind of settle into your brain. Also, exercise as well is a good form of rest as well, movement and things like that. Again, kind of that helps the body and mind to kind of have one connection. And there's a book I love at the moment which is called Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julia Smith. And it is just fantastic. It just, movement sometimes when you're going through like any sort of mental health kind of issue or feeling anxious and stuff like that, movement is like super important. And I think a lot of people know that already, but yeah, I really want to point that out. Another important thing is like journaling as well, and just, make sure you get some time away, space from your language learning so you can see how you're doing and like what's working, what's not working. It sounds really obvious, but I never used to do that. I now use the bullet journal method as well. I've done a video about that, and I'll make sure to have a link to that up there. And honestly, journaling is fantastic. If you've never done it before, I do things like a week review. How have I done last week? What am I planning to do? What would I like to change? And then the following week I'll check again. Every month I'll do like a monthly review. I'll do like a quarterly review. I'll do a yearly review. Those things are like super important. And it doesn't take long, just really quick, but just one of those things, just get into the habit of trying to do it. And, and having a busy day at work is like very common, like things happen. And even like sometimes I'm like, okay, this week I'm going to get things out of the way. Next week I'm going to have more time. And it doesn't work like that. And the next week it will get filled up with other things, or, I need to get these YouTube videos together as well. So I want to prioritize that as well. So sometimes things happen, things slip, and that's fine. But I do want to stress that, things will not be perfect when you're learning language. I'm not a cyborg. I won't be able to pick things up all the time. Sometimes you go to bed late, wake up late, things happen. And I think just having that acceptance is really important. It just kind of helps you feel better as well. And you're more likely to get back into the swing of things. Another thing is like, if you look at the best athletes in the world, they have like coaches and stuff like that. And a lot of them prioritize recovery after you've had a big football match, basketball match, cricket match, whatever it is. Recovery is super important. And that's really important for language learning as well. I remember like listening about LeBron James, the basketball player, plays for the Lakers, and how he would have like lots of rest and sleep and naps and things like that. So it's like really important, like, that recovery. You need to let your body kind of rest and recuperate. Another important thing is just to plan out my day, find what is doable, and you actually find like in your head, you're like, oh wow, I'm gonna have time to do this and this. When you actually write it down, you realize, oh, actually I don't have that much time. And it's really important kind of getting that realistic kind of expectation in your head. Another thing is like failing, learning to accept that it is part of the process and keep moving forward. And by journaling, having rest, taking some time to step back, you kind of realize what's going on, and maybe you need to change things or switch things up. And one of the things about having rest and having that space is like, it's kind of helped me to like get back on the saddle. So whenever I do get into into one of those trends where I'm like, my language learning is kind of dipping, I can take a step back, maybe have a bit of a rest. What's going on in the rest of my life? Journaling, maybe there's something going. Maybe my son isn't feeling well. Maybe I need to, help out with my family here, or do something there, or there's a big event coming up, or it could be anything like that, or work is like really busy at the moment. So, it's really important to take that step back, say, okay, it's not working here. What can I learn from this? What can I change? And like just doing that stuff. You don't need like some expert to tell you that or anything like that. I think a lot of times we know what we need to do. And I like this good tip I heard from Alex Hormozy, who's like this big kind of business online kind of guy, who was saying like, imagine you're talking to your 85-year-old self, or your 85-year-old self is talking to you. Rather, like, what would they be telling you? What's the advice they would give you? And it's a really good thing, and it definitely works, honestly. They'd be telling you to rest, sleep, do things, do a little bit, keep dating. If you had the bad period where it's not working, just to pick it back up as well. Not to be hard on yourself, reward yourself and things like that. It's like super important. And I remember I tried to learn Arabic 10 years ago, and I should have slowed down really, because I was trying to pick up all this stuff. I had the online tutor, I was doing this, that, and the other, and it just got too much to me in the end, and I just kind of just dropped it. And I wish I just slowed down, taking it more easy, kind of, took some more breaks, not worry about constantly just moving forward and stuff like that. So yeah, I wish I had done that, and I would have probably just sort of stayed on the course with Arabic. But yeah, you know what? Alhamdulillah, I've learned a lot from that process. And another big thing I want to talk about is Duolingo. Duolingo, like when you do like a streak, so I'm like on the streak of nearly about 250 sort of days. They know like people will sometimes miss a day here, there, or everywhere. So rather than say if you did 200 days and suddenly you missed a day, rather than send you right back to zero, they'll freeze your streak so that when you come back, you pick up from where you left off. That's really important because they know, look, things happen, in people's lives and stuff like that. And the way to keep yourself motivated is just by like, they'll freeze it. But, if you miss like a whole bunch of days, maybe like, a week, a couple of weeks, something like that, then it would probably go back to zero. But they know people get dips in the road, bumps and stuff like that, and Duolingo has got a lot of experts and people like that working from them, AI and stuff like that. So, don't, think that, it's you that's the only one that isn't perfect and stuff like that. It's natural. It's just part of life. Hey, just want to say, if you've enjoyed this video, please check out my other video where I talk about why I'm only using Duolingo and not books, mainly when I'm learning.